Hi there. So this is my first video for Patreon where I'm speaking and doing something. So it might not be the greatest, okay? So I'm sure as time goes on, I'll get much better at this. As I mentioned in my post, I wanted to mention here that I am brand new to creating sigils. Of course, I mentioned I'm not brand new to symbols because I work with symbols with tea leaf reading. But for sigil work, this is brand new. And as you can see right here, I tried a few different things out, and I just wanted to show you how I got to the final sigils that I'll include in this video, which I ended up recreating in Procreate. That's a program I like to use on my iPad Pro. But first of all, of course, you don't need any digital tools. You can just use any kind of pen, marker, or a pencil. I would actually suggest to use a calligraphy pen or a calligraphy marker. I just couldn't find mine. I have a whole bunch of them and I can't seem to find mine because that is the kind of style that I ended up liking. So basically right here, here's sigils. I decided that I wanted to write "Love Lives Here." It's Valentine's Day this week, so I thought an intention set towards love might be a nice sigil. The thought is that you can create your sigil, and then if you'd like, you can burn it once it's done, and then forget about it. And basically that intention is set. Love lives here. So in your home, wherever you are. Another thing that I might do is maybe place it in a special place, maybe even behind a painting, under a pillow, somewhere special that might mean love for you. But in any case, let's just go ahead. You'll see how I started out here. I was just playing around. So I started out with this very, straight lined and triangle shapes, basically straight lines. And then I ended up getting into what I'm more comfortable with is calligraphy. I've taken quite a few different lessons in calligraphy over the years. So I really like doing curls and, curved letters. So I ended up with something like this. So let's go ahead and do Love Lives Here. I'll just do that with you on this blank piece of paper. So basically how you start, maybe I'll use this tiny Sharpie here, Sharpie Mini. And I'm just going to write out the words, love lives here. So I used capitals. You may not want to, but I'll show you why I did and how I use them. The next thing you want to do is cross out all of your vowels. So I'm just going to cross out the O, the E, the I, the E, and these two E's. So I'm crossing them right out. So I'm left with all the consonants, and I'm going to get rid of the duplicate consonants. So I'm going to get rid of that second L, and that's about it. So I'm left with these letters, L, and I'm using the capital. And then I'm going to use the lowercase v. Oh, actually, sorry, I have to cross out the V as well because that's a duplicate. So L, lowercase v, and then I'll go to the small s right there, and then a capital H, and then the small r. Does that even look like an R? Okay, so I'm left with these 5 letters, which are what I'm going to use now to create my sigil. So you can, of course, use very blocky letters if you'd like. So to give an example of that, maybe what I would do is I'll use my uppercase L. Then perhaps I would draw in my lowercase v. Then I might add the S, which is a little bit hard because I don't want to do curves in this case. So I'm just going to try and make my S very blocky. So maybe I'll start with the bottom of the L, and I'll just use that top line as the top of my S. Okay, so you can see how I've added the S, L, V, S. And then I have to do a capital H. So I might want to put this over here. And then I have a lowercase r. So of course I could put it right in here, right there, and then end that little bit. But I kind of like the idea of mixing up the letters here to create a square or a rectangle. So I'm going to actually switch it and use an uppercase R. So no rules. So I'm just going to use the lines, the existing lines, and I'm going to create an R, very blocky. I don't know if you can tell that that's an R, but I basically did an R like that. So that could be my sigil for Love Lives Here. Of course, I'm doing it on screen here. I'd probably do it a little bit better where my lines aren't wavy like that, but that's just me and aesthetics. But I don't think it really matters as long as you're just setting the intention. So another example that I did though with using more curvy letters is, I'll show you how I got there. So using the same letters here, I'm going to do a capital L. So I'm just going to do a bit of a curvy capital L. And then I'm going to do my small V. So I think what I did was I put in a V here and I used straight lines there. There's my V. And then I have an S. So I decided to continue this curly line and do a curly S. So I just went like this. Okay, so that's my S. And then I have a capital H. I went over here and I just put a capital H there. And then I actually did another capital R in my example. So I'll just put my R, meet up with the lines, and did a curvy R. So that's what I did for Love Lives Here. You might be able to come up with something even better, but I did end up liking this one. And again, I'll show it to you in Procreate. How I fixed it up. I basically went in, and you can do this by hand too, is I just, filled in some of these lines. You can see, make them more calligraphy-like. So of course you can go over the lines and make them a little bit nicer. Adding some bolder lines and keeping some lines quite thin. So it ends up looking a little bit more artistic. You'll notice in my example above that I've actually included a heart symbol too, which I forgot while I was working on it. Okay, so that I'll show you the end result in Procreate. Okay, so now on to the second practice example that I did. I used my name, the Laurel Witch. So basically it's my business name. It's the name that I use for everything that I do with my work. And I thought that that would be a nice thing to do, is create a sigil. It's maybe not a typical intention that I might want to burn, but I do think that giving it some significance and putting some concentrated effort into a sigil for my name works. Or you could think of it as a symbol Or if you're using your family name, maybe that's almost like a coat of arms, a crest, your family crest, your family logo, if you will. So I'll just show you. I played around, you know, some of these I didn't like. I didn't connect with these at all, but I ended up with one, and I did it in Procreate, which I'll show you. But I'll show you how I got there just by using a marker at first, or the pen at first. So here, I'll get started here. So I wrote down the Laurel Witch. Again, you can decide if you want capitals or not. And I'm going to erase or delete, if I was using a computer. Just going to cross out the vowels. Then I'm going to cross out the duplicate consonants. So I do have 2 H's, so I'll cross that second one out. I do have 2 L's, so I'll cross the second one out. I have 1 R, I have 1 W. I have a T already over here, so I'll cross this out, and I'll leave the C because I only have 1. So I'm left with a capital T, an H, an L, an R, a W, and a C for this this sigil. So I'll show you. I know it won't look very pretty right now, but I would probably really spend some time to make it look better. But what I did was a capital T, so I went like this. And then I used this line in my T to create the L because I saw it moving up here. So I just put the top of my L here and a little swirl. And then down here, I finished my capital L. Okay. My old calligraphy teacher would have a fit because he didn't like curls like that, but I do. Swirls. Okay, so my next letter was the H, but I think I waited on that till the end. You don't have to do them in order, by the way. Okay, so I did the T and the L. The R, I actually almost left out. And again, if you don't want to use a letter, that's fine. But I figured I almost had an R shape right here. So I just didn't find a good feeling to add another R. So I felt like that was my R shape. So next I went to the W. For some reason, I just like to, if I have a letter like a W, I like to split it on either side, so it's the same, mirrored on either side. I liked that. And then I added my H in. I just felt like it was a great place just to put an H right in here, and I used a capital. So it created this neat little, almost like a house. It felt like a little house for me, maybe a witch's house. And then what am I left with? The C. So the C, I thought about this, played around with different ways to do this, but what I ended up with was a moon. And I think I did it like this in my final Procreate drawing. So the letters do not even have to touch. They don't always have to touch. You can spread them out. And I've given you some links, some different artists or witches or other people who have been working with sigils, and a couple of book references or resources. And they're great to give you all this information. But yeah, you really don't have to have them touching. And then I actually wanted to make this look even more of a crescent moon, so I filled that in a little bit like that in the Procreate drawing. And I did go over some of these lines and make them thicker, of course. It's really simple in Procreate to do, but if you're using pen, you can do it as well. So I filled in some of these lines. Just make some of the end curls maybe thicker. Okay, so I really like how this one turned out. And I just love it. I may end up using it, maybe not in public, but maybe for myself. Maybe I would use this as a little logo. Okay, so I'll show you the final Procreate, but I just wanted to show you these lessons because this is something anybody can do. You don't have to have calligraphy experience at all, or any experience. You can do it your own way, and just play, and figure out, excuse me, figure out a style that you really like, and whatever feels good for you. So I'm sure I will continue to play with this and learn more. It's not just all about play, but I want to learn more about sigils and maybe put that into my work a little bit more, especially when I'm looking into tarot. Tea leaf reading, tarot, sigils, they all connect with me because I'm a visual artist, and I really connect with images and symbols. So hopefully you do too, and if you do, I hope that you do try some out for yourself, and I hope you enjoy working with this and connect with it as I did. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week.